Good day everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about a list that I've discovered and that's been going around in a few TTRPG communities. If you're not unfamiliar with that term, that's tabletop role-playing games. This list is used by a section of the community that, well, where to spend their money. It's sort of like a warning list. Now these people who put the list up do have obvious political leanings, and I will let you be the judge of whether that's right or wrong yourselves. I'm not going to come down on either side. I just wanted to report on the list itself and what the idea of this list was. You see, this is not the first time a list like this has appeared, but it's the first time that it's been circulated so much between certain communities. Whether you agree with the list or not is completely up to you. I'm going to put part of the list up here now, and I'm going to put the rest of what you can find, the thread itself, in the description. Now, why I'm talking about this is because I'm going to start an OSR. I'm going to start talking about OSR, Old School Renaissance, or Old School Essentials, depending on which version you prefer, which terminology you prefer, and they're on this list. Necrotic Gnome, the company that makes OSR or OSC, depending on, again, has made various statements that they are political neutral, and if that's good or bad, that's completely up to you. But a lot of people take this as an acceptance of certain fringe elements in the community in tabletop role-playing games, and there isn't a week that hasn't gone by that I haven't, since I've joined the communities on a more vocal level, that there hasn't been some sort of drama regarding someone coming out to be a horrible person in one way or another. Time and time again, the community has been split and split and split due to these people's actions. Sometimes these people are complete scumbags. Sometimes I think that, like, very occasionally, if people talked without coming to judgment, they might have said something very stupid offhandedly, but again, maybe they didn't mean it. I mean, there's a very famous vocal YouTuber that on Twitter they get drunk and then they have to spend multiple hours in the morning deleting tweets after their drunken rampages. This was the first time that, well, I wouldn't say that I get dragged into the argument, more like that I observed it from a third party. You see, back then I was heavily invested in Magic the Gathering. I played it online. There was like a version online that you could play through, and there was like and I thought it was interesting to watch these videos, to learn a bit about the cards and stuff. So I watched this guy's videos, but then they did something very stupid, and this person threatened another person. Basically, he asked him to punch him the next time he went somewhere. So this guy punched him, and then this other guy went, "Oh, I've been punched." But you had been winding him up for months. You'd been challenging him up for months, and you'd been, really, really making yourself an aggressive person to him. If you know who I'm talking about, fine. If you don't, well, it's very easy to find out from that brief description. Going back to the list, I have seen two versions of the list and makes points on, it basically makes little snipes at certain individuals within the community or companies within the community. I've watched several people have full-blown arguments over magic items that were in Pathfinder. I've seen people have massive arguments over orcs and their depiction in TTRPGs. I've seen people had massive arguments over dragons, Tiamat, and various other things, when a lot of the time these games should be bringing people together and they should be enjoyed together. This list, in my opinion, is very divisive because it's obviously charged by the individuals that have curated it. It is on, I will, as I've said, I put the link in the description for you to check out for yourselves whether you want to, agree or disagree. Now, a lot of the people on the green list here, and I'm not including everyone here, a lot of them they're wind-up merchants. I will include the new TSR, quote-unquote new TSR people, in that because they have made an effort to alienate a significant portion of the community. They are, as I've reported before, they were harassing previous artists, they were harassing various people who'd worked with the company before, trying to bring them into new TSR and legitimize it. A lot of people have said, no, we don't want anything to do with you, and basically have cut ties with them. They've also basically cut up people's artwork and again used it. In the beginning, I can admit that I was interested in new TSR and the direction it was going. Once they made their presence known and things started to come out, a couple of people involved were very vocal on and very antagonistic towards other people for the slightest comments. I've sometimes noticed the people who cry free speech are the very first people to block you. That's just my opinion. As I've said, the necrotic gnome, while they try to maintain neutral, there are some people around them that are obviously not. I like necrotic gnome games. I've read through their rules, their quick free start guides and stuff like that. I really like them. I like the way it brings back a lot of memories from 2nd edition D&D, and that's my personal preference. I like 3.5. 3.5 is always going to be my favourite completely all, but OSR or OSC is doing a fantastic job of bringing back a lot of fun memories for me of 2nd edition without fatal transition, which I was forced to undergo, which we'll talk about another time. I can't really say anything about the others on this list because I don't know a lot of them. A lot of them are indie companies. Funny fact, the people who are making Morkborg are not here, which is surprising in the green list, considering they're rather they rather don't do anything. They're quite chill people, as I remember. But there's also the yellow list, Chaosium. I don't know why Chaosium isn't yellow, because they barely say boo to a ghost. So Crucible 7, Edge Studios, FFG can be jerks. I know people who work for FFG, and I've known people who've been high up in FFG, and they are jerks. So I don't know whether an amber list. They treat people very strangely. Cobalt Press is not too bad. Reaper Press, Talasaurian. Talasaurian is fine. I've always found his interviews and his views very easy to get along with. He really is not antagonistic in any way, so I don't know why he's on amber. Okay, so we'll look quickly at a few members of the red list, and then I'll give my thoughts on what this is trying to do. Gen Con is on the red. Gen Con is always going to be one of those places that you either love or hate. I've never been to Gen Con, by the way, because it's too far away. But I've watched a lot of people who have, and I've watched a lot of videos about it. And Gen Con is an event that happens every year. It didn't happen last year or the year before, I believe, because of COVID, but it normally happens every year, where a group of people, mainly people in the wargames hobby, card game hobby, and that type of sphere, board game hobby, have exhibits and present their new products to the world. GW, or Games Workshop, has started to go to these, but that's a bit weird, and I'll probably cover that a bit later when they actually go next year, or this year rather, if it happens this year again. Maybe it'll be digital, we don't know yet. Anyway, moving on. Well, you see, Gen Con is this event where if you don't go to it, you don't matter in a lot of people's eyes, and I think that's a shame. A lot of people who make great games are not invited. Mainly this might be because they're small. Sometimes they are rabble rousers and only want to sell to a section of the community that they basically try and keep everyone else out of, which is a bit of a shame because it should be for everyone. No matter if they want to make female Space Marines, in my opinion, but some people are really, really anti on that. But never mind. Not that I'm accusing Gen Con of doing that, then. However, a lot of people will put this on the red list simply because of an interaction that happened with someone that I've alluded to earlier in this video, but there is also mention that they are extremely, let's say, proactive on banning people even for the slightest infraction. Now, that's up to them whether they do that or not, and obviously they've got to put safety of exhibitors and people coming into the convention, obviously. But I think there is a lot of, if you don't go here, then you don't count in the community. I've seen it quite a few times, like, are you going to Gen Con? No. Well then, never mind. You know, that type of thing. I've seen a lot of great games that didn't get promoted there, maybe not got the attention that they deserve. Maybe I'll try and do some more of those in the forthcoming future, but that's my opinion. It tends to be on this list simply because of an interaction with one individual. I've alluded to that earlier in the video. So, moving on from that, there's also Kobold Press, Magpie Games, Morphodus. I'm going to do Morphodus very quickly, and then I'm going to go into Wizards of the Coast, and that's going to be it. Morphodus do Infinity, Vampire the Masquerade 5th, which is an abomination, Fallout RPG, which is really horrible, and Conan and a lot of other ones. They are the people that get a lot of licenses and just mass produce RPGs. I don't like them for that fact. They don't put any heart into a lot of their games, and they are quickly just pump out games because they've got names on them. They buy a lot of licenses, and it's not good. That's why I don't like them, but not because of anything else. I will wait and see with the Homeworld TTRPG. I am aware that they might have put some effort into that one, but I will really have to see how it goes. Wizards of the Coast, the Big Daddy, the grandpapa of Dungeons and Dragons. There is a lot of controversy regarding Wizards of the Coast and various members that have, let's say, they've not been good people. But this is the outliers, this is not the main people who run it. There is a lot of people who hate on them because they have tried to change various parts of the lore and various bits and pieces. I remember 4th edition, when 4th edition came out, was very controversial. Gnomes were dropped, and then they included Tieflings and Dragonborn. I don't like Dragonborn, the way that they appeared in 4th. They're marginally better in 5th, but I've got memory of Dragonborn from Dragonlance, so that's why I always felt it was a bit weird, them bringing them into 4th and 5th as a main playable roles. If you like them, that's fine. That's not. It's just me. I just think they're a bit weird. Tieflings are fine. I've always played Tieflings in games if I could. There's a really awesome Tiefling in Planescape Torment that I really like. That was voiced by Sheena Easton, so I've always got a fondness for Tieflings. But I know a lot of people have been banned from Wizards of the Coast events simply because they were, let's say, they weren't good people, or that they've caused a lot of trouble for people in the community. But there is a lot of watering down of settings in a few books. Regardless if you like Critical Role or whatever, they have given Wizards of the Coast and D&D a big boost with their style of gaming. But you must remember, if you do like that sort of style of gaming, that's all a show, that's all pre-made, it's all pre-scripted. And while there might be some genuine actions in the show, a lot of it is they're already briefed on a lot of what's going to happen. So if you're okay with that, then enjoy it to your max. It's okay, in my opinion. It's okay. Some of the stuff that Wizards of the Coast do is good. Some of it they do is not so good. I think that a lot of people have become annoyed because of the spell plague in 4th, which I was. And they hold on to the grudges when they shouldn't do. D&D is always going to evolve, and it's never going to stay the same game that you grew up with. That's a big point. Whether Wizards of the Coast will weather the storm moving into 6th is something that we'll have to watch and see. I don't think Wizards of the Coast is all that bad, to be honest. I know a lot of people hate on them for various bits and pieces, but I'm going to be honest here. WOTC did have some issues with Magic the Gathering and some judges there, and that's perfectly correct. And I hope that will never happen again, but as I've said, there's not been a week that there's been some drama about some guy or some person in the TTRPG community doing something awful, which is a shame really, because they're supposed to be games, they're supposed to be bringing us together. Last one I want to mention, Pizao or Pathfinder. Pathfinder is basically, or Pathfinder First Edition was basically 3.5 Second Edition. It was a good version of 3.5. Second Edition Pathfinder is a little different. There is sections in Pathfinder games that occasionally get put up on Twitter and go, look how shocking this is. The fact that those sections have to be included now to tell you not to be an asshole to your players, or to your DM or GM, or to your fellow players, or whatever. The fact that those things need to be included is saying a lot about the community as a whole, in my opinion. Not that they're there, but that's just my opinion. Pizao did get in some trouble with a magic item as well. I remember that quite correctly. Starfinder is the like space version. I've got some issues with Starfinder, but not because of the mechanics or the gameplay, but simply because I think some of the adventure paths are poorly written, in my opinion. That's why I like to homebrew a lot of stuff, because I think a lot of the printed stuff that they do, like the adventures and the Galarian setting, doesn't live up to Forgotten Realms, and I don't think it ever will, and that's a shame. That's the only thing that I can say about Pizao, in my opinion. So, what do I mean by this, and bringing this to people's attention? Honestly, these lists have existed for a lot of time, and in my opinion, they seem petty, whichever side that generates them. They seem petty. There are going to be companies who've done horrible things, and word is going to circulate within the TTRPG community without this kind of list. The fact that someone's put the effort into writing it and keep updating it feels like that they've been spurned by someone within the community, which is a shame really, because as I've said, these games are supposed to be bringing people together, not driving them apart. I know a lot of people were mad about wheelchair, my magic wheelchair, for a long time, and there was video after video, and I thought, well, if a player wants to use it, why not? My only issue was with druids and wild shaping. That was my only issue, that it either should be attuned to them wild shaping, or have a magic device, so like a storage box, so when they wild shape it, it closes, it folds into itself into like a pendant or something. That was my only issue with it really. It's a very rather expensive magic item that basically flies, floats, and does a lot of stuff. But if you say, well, if you're going to do this with your character, you're going to have to spend, this much XP or this much gold from your starting character to have it, that's fine. That would be my opinion. But if they were like, well, that's a bit unfair, I'd say, okay, well, you're going to have to mitigate it in other ways, because that's a rather powerful magic item, because it boosted like speed and like miniature fly. The first edition of it, I think, was a bit overpowered. The modern versions of it are pretty decent in my opinion for what it does, especially with some of the add-ons. Some of the add-ons are really powerful, so that's just my opinion, especially as someone who has some mobility difficulties. But there we go. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to talk about. I didn't see a lot of people bring it up mainly. So there we go. Thank you all for your time. Next time I will be trying to talk about something else, probably about maybe I'll go back to Spelljammer for a while, and then we'll start on Planescape for a while, and then I'll talk about Necrotic Gnomes, OSE or SL. So thank you all for your time. Do take care of yourselves, and bye bye.